Hello, MavMind Collective, and welcome to another episode of the HypnoSellers Show. Today we're going to be talking about the 3 reasons why self-improvement fails. So if you're like me, you're trying to improve yourself all the time. You want to get better at what you do, either at your job or maybe at your hobby, like outside of your job, your recreational sport that you play or something. Any number of reasons why we want to self-improve. But if you're like me, you attempt the self-improvement activity, you attempt to make yourself better and get better at something, and then sometimes you might find that it just doesn't work. And you're like, what is the deal with that? Well, I'm going to give you 3 reasons why today, because I think it's important. If we understand these 3 reasons, we can actually do something to overcome it and get better at it, okay? And actually achieve the self-improvement goals that we've set for ourselves. Whether it's at our job or outside of our job, it's just something that we have to be aware of. So the first one on the list here is homeostasis. Homeostasis, I've talked about this before, but I'm going to just make sure I point out here that if you're trying to improve yourself and you're trying to get better at something, understand that your subconscious is trying to prevent you from changing anything. It's fighting you all the time. It's doing it for a very important reason, to keep you alive. And your subconscious tends to equate everything it does, all these activities that it's controlling in your body and in your mind that you're not aware of, it's doing it to keep you alive. So if you come along and you say, I want to change this aspect about my life, I want to get better, I want to have a better golf swing, or I want to get better at presenting at my job, guess what? The subconscious is going to go, is that something that's going to help you stay alive or not? And it's probably going to default to, no, it's not. So I don't need to spend any more time, and I'm going to prevent you from doing any of that improvement there, because it's not life or death. Okay. Think about it. When you breathe every day, your subconscious is making sure you breathe so many times per minute to stay alive. Your subconscious is making sure that your body temperature is exactly in the range to keep you alive. Because if it's just a few degrees, 10 or 20 degrees lower than the 98.6 or whatever it needs to be to stay alive, if it's like too low, you won't survive. You won't survive. If it's too high, if it goes too high, you get a fever and your temperature goes up way too high and stays there too long, you won't survive either. And also, like your heart rate needs to keep your blood pressure at a certain blood pressure, or you won't survive. So it's continually doing all these things to keep you in homeostasis. And if you come along and you want to improve something just that's not very life or death like that, it's going to ignore it and it's going to say, nope, not going to happen. So you have to realize that you have to make it life or death. You have to program your subconscious mind, like with self-hypnosis, as being something associated that's considered you won't survive without it. You need to make it that important so it'll take it seriously. So self-improvement using self-hypnosis, you can get that into your subconscious mind, for example. And that's why I always talk about that. And that's how I've been able to improve myself, my life, and at my job or outside of my job by using self-hypnosis all the time. And I make it a habit so I can improve it. And since I know about homeostasis, I'm continually making, the self-improvement really, really important at that subconscious level, so it'll be taken seriously. So that's one thing you want to be aware of, and why you really can achieve self-improvement without understanding how your body and how your mind and subconscious is looking at it. The other thing, the second one here on the list, it's a reason why you're not succeeding at self-improvement, is lack of permission. And I discovered this many, many years ago, and ever since I discovered it, I have a little method I use, which I'll share in a second here, of how I'm able to get permission to be successful. So it goes back to the fact that whenever we're all born, and until about age 8 or 9, we're all hypersuggestible. We're all hypersuggestible because we haven't figured out how to think for ourselves. We haven't figured out how to make decisions for ourselves, or to analyze the data and the inputs from adults, and to figure out and question, do I believe that, or can I believe something different? Do I have a different opinion about that? We're constantly taking it in until about age 8 or 9. And around 8 or 9, we start to develop that critical mind. which means that we start to judge and start to think about, we think about what people are telling us, and then we decide if we want to accept it and associate it in our subconscious or not. And at that point on, we're sort of also expected to think for ourselves and to do things for ourselves, make our own decisions. But if you think about it, up and until age 8 or 9, we didn't have to do any of that. Adults all told us what to do. All these adults around us, for that first early impression of our life until we're 8 or 9, they tell us what to do. And more importantly, they give us permission to do things, or they don't give us permission to do things that we want to do. So when we say, hey, I want to do this thing, an adult will say yes or no. Yes or no, you can't. And we don't understand when we're kids, we don't understand that, but we learn to accept that, okay, I'm not allowed to do this thing that I impulsively want to do without permission to do it. So we learn to ask, may I do this? Can I do this? Yes, okay. And then we do it. Can I do it? Can I go outside and play? No, you can't. You have to eat your dinner first. Oh, okay. So we learn these different behaviors based on the permission that adults give us. Now, just because we learn to think for ourselves at age 8 or 9 and then beyond, and we grow up and become adults, doesn't mean that subconsciously we're still expecting permission to do things, anything we want. We're still expecting that permission. And we're not used to, and we don't realize that, and actually trying to give yourself permission doesn't quite work the way your subconscious expects it to because of the conditioning in the first 8 or 9 years of your life. So here's what I've learned to do. I have now learned, because I've discovered this, that at the subconscious level, I need someone else to give me permission. I simply go up to my spouse, my friends, anyone, and I just say, don't ask me why, just tell me, do I have permission to be successful at this task? Or do I have permission to be successful in my life? Or will you give me permission to go change this thing about myself? Will you give me permission to get better at swinging the golf club and getting better at my golf swing? Would you give me permission for that? And I ask people to give me permission. And it doesn't even matter who it is, as long as it's somebody outside of myself, as long as it's somebody else. I just ask them, and then I listen for them to say, yes, you may be successful, Maverick. And I say, thank you. And then if I teach them this little trick here, they will then in turn say, Maverick, do I have permission to be? And I say, yes, you do. And we give each other permission all the time. Sounds silly, sounds like, why would you do that? But I'm telling you, at the subconscious level, this is one of the most powerful things I've been able to figure out. At the subconscious level, until we're 8 or 9, we need permission. And it just because we get older and become mature adults doesn't mean that subconsciously we still are seeking permission from other people. So start doing this today. Get your friends, families, your spouse, anyone, ask them, tell them, hey, can I have permission to be successful? Listen for them to say yes and say perfect, and watch. You'll see, you'll start improving yourself, you'll start being successful, you'll start achieving the things that you want to achieve just because you asked for permission. It's crazy, but it totally works. And I've been doing it for years now. And I attribute a lot of my own personal self-improvement attempts, success in life and in my job and outside of my job, because I ask people continually to give me permission as if they were an adult telling the hyper-suggestible child in me, in my subconscious, giving me permission. No matter what age you are, it will work. Okay? So that's the second one. The third one is trying to do too much too fast. Too much too fast. One of the things you have to realize about the subconscious and just our own abilities to keep us in homeostasis is that it's also there to have a check valve to make sure we don't change too fast. If something changes too fast, we will prevent it as much as we can. Now, in certain situations, it might be different. Like if there's a sudden, you see something that shocks you into changing, that's different. That's a different mechanism whenever you're shocked into something and then you find you're never going to do that thing again. That is a very rare case where it'll happen. But most of the time when you are proactively, like very, very intentionally trying to change and improve yourself, you can't do too much too fast. You have to do it in little increments. And there's a lot of books and research that have been done recently, and you've probably seen some of the titles called like micro habits or mini habits. That's because the research shows that if you can do little things incrementally, you can sort of sneak up, how I look at it, right? That's Maverick's mind looking at sneaking up on your subconscious before it can tell what's going on. And the analogy I use is if you want to displace water out of a bucket, you can drop one pebble in the bucket every day. So every 24 hours you drop a small little pebble in a bucket. Pretty soon, if you do it for enough days, little by little, one pebble at a time, the water will, one drop at a time, every time you drop a pebble, a drop will spill over the side. And before you know it, the bucket's empty of water and full of pebbles. It's full of total pebbles, and there's no more water left. That's what you have to think about. You have to think about your subconscious being like the bucket of water, and every day you're just programming a little piece. You're making one little change. You're making a little bit more progress. One drop, one pebble towards your progress. So you have to keep at it. Now, some people, when they're eager to try to do too much too fast, they get frustrated. They're like, it'll never work, and they give up. But I'm going to tell you, if you don't give up, if you actually resist giving up, avoid giving up, and just keep going, no matter what it is, just little by little every day, just do a little bit of improvement, a little bit, swing the golf club one more time, listen to the self-hypnosis tape one more day, one more day, one more day, and you will overcome whatever fear you have. You'll improve whatever you want to improve. You will achieve your goals for self-improvement every single time if you just do it one little micro increment at a time. I guarantee it. I've been able to do all kinds of change in my life, little by little, one pebble at a time, whether it's self-hypnosis or anything. Just thoughts, just having the thoughts every day consistently. I put it on my phone and have it remind me, and I read it to myself. Oh yeah, I got to remember that. I got to do that thing. I got to tell myself one more time. I read it off of my phone like an alert, like a notification. Very easy to do. Put it on your phone, your smartphone. Bring it up, read it to yourself every day, and that's all. Do it every day for several weeks, and suddenly you'll start thinking like that, and it will change everything for you. Incrementally, one little day, one little pebble at a time. Okay, so keep that in mind. Do it little every day. Get other people to give you permission, and just know that subconsciously you're not designed to change. So you have to just keep going and don't give up. Always try and do it little by little and get that permission. Thank you for watching. I know you find value in these videos, didn't you? So if you, like me, are in a customer-facing role, I'm wondering if you want to watch another video now designed to help you get better at what you do every day. Or not. You don't have to watch another video if you don't want to.